Check 1, 2. So good. A very good afternoon to you all. Can I tell you all, this is a very Episcopal setup as far as like where you all are sitting. This is like my favorite, especially those folks in the way back. I trust that you've all had enough to eat. I really want to thank everyone who made these delicious sandwiches and provided food for us so that we can have the sustenance to do a great annual meeting and also have some fellowship. I'm really grateful for all of you who have done this work and prepared us for this place. If you have not already picked up one of the packets that includes 50 pages of reports, I trust that you will. These reports are also available online. And so if you are watching from home, these reports were in an email that we sent last Thursday and the one last night from the parish. And if you need other copies, please call the parish office and we'll be able to help you. The agenda for this afternoon's annual meeting is on page 6. The first thing on our agenda, which we will try our best to keep to, although the timing of it we're not sure about. We're going to keep it in order, but we're going to do our best to kind of move with alacrity through it, but also recognize that some parts may take longer than others, and we want to give you all the opportunity to ask questions and for folks to give reports. And so I invite you just to begin with silence, and then we'll have an opening prayer. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Dear God, give us a sense of your presence in this place. Keep us mindful of the needs of others, especially those in areas of the world experiencing violence. We ask you to guide our deliberations and our conversations. Give us the truth that you are in the midst of us and your Spirit is guiding us in this transitional time in our life. We give thanks for those who have prepared the food. We give thanks for all of the ways in which you feed us in body, mind, and spirit. Come, Holy Spirit, and be in this place. And let the people say, Amen. I'd like to begin with a territorial acknowledgement. St. Luke's acknowledges that we are worshiping on, quote, unceded territory taken by force and previously occupied by the Wabanaki people. Some of the resources that built this cathedral came from industry related to the slave trade in the 18th and 19th centuries. We join with our fellow residents in honoring the Wabanaki knowledge and culture that continues to thrive in tribal nations. We ask for blessing and peace upon all indigenous peoples that have called and will always call this place the Dawn Land, which means home. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the 2023 annual meeting.
I move the minutes be approved. I'll second it.
All in favor? And as we approve those, I do want to give thanks for Dan McDonald, our clerk, who is also taking notes this weekend too. The next thing on our agenda this morning is the voting. Each of you should have picked up a ballot and a pencil, and if you don't have a ballot or a pencil, I hope that you will raise your hand and we can get one to you. Does everyone have one? Fantastic. There's a couple things that I want to talk about today, and one of them has to do with the difference between this year's ballot and previous year's ballots. This year, we were incredibly lucky to have had more people nominated to serve the positions than there are positions available. This is an incredible gift to us, and yet also offers us the potential and the truth that some folks who we have nominated, particularly for vestry, will not actually find themselves on the vestry. I want you to know that, that this is both an incredible gift to have so many qualified, wonderful people, and also challenging for those folks who aren't elected. And so we give thanks for the folks who have made themselves vulnerable and accepted nomination from their peers to step into this place and recognize the incredible gift of what it means to be nominated by your peers. Make no mistake, in this time of transition, every single person in this room will be asked to bring their gifts to bear on the search for a new dean. And so if you are among those nominated and not elected today, don't worry, I will call you. But I'm grateful. I just want to extend my gratitude. There are very clear instructions here about how many candidates to choose, and we'd like to give you a few minutes to vote. And as you are done, our two what do we call them? Our two tellers. Once you're done, you can fold your ballot and hold it above your head, and one of the two tellers will pick it up and tally the votes while the rest of our meeting goes forth. Did you vote?
It just occurred to us that while the written instructions were very clear that nominations from the floor will be entertained. We didn't say that explicitly before we asked you to vote. But if there are any nominations, please let us know. Thank you. So our two tellers, am I on? Our two tellers are
Check one.
Our two tellers are Peter Carlton and John Bancroft. So if you would make sure that you get your ballots to them, they will be busy carefully tallying the votes. Thank you, Fred. If there are any more ballots to be collected, please raise them up.
All right, it looks like John's doing one last sweep, and John and Peter are going to head off to count those ballots. Thank you all for your prayerful deliberation of those called to lead us in this next chapter together. And again, thank you for everyone who agreed to stand for nomination to serve on vestry and also as delegates to Diocese Convention. Truly grateful. The next thing on our agenda are remarks from the Senior Warden of the Cathedral of St. Luke, Sam Allen.
I'm going to channel George here and stand up. Sitting at the table doesn't feel too comfortable. We heard a great sermon from George today. Hold it real close, he says. That's the secret. Let's go on. We heard from George this morning, and it's something that I was reflecting on when I was thinking about what to say. I've written a pretty good write-up about 2023 in the annual report. So I just wanted to say a few things about looking forward, and that's the let's go on part. I think we're at a great point to embark on our dean search. We've had, I feel really blessed, George, with your presence here. And I know it's taken a while for George to feel really settled in. And I think I'm glad we've had these months together to get to know you and to prepare to do the hard work of the let's go on part. This year, I think will be one of the focus areas certainly will be getting our search underway and doing perhaps all of the hard work of seeing a successful search for a new dean come to completion or nearly nearly so. It's going to require that we really have a firm idea of who we are and where we want to be in the future, how we position ourselves. And I think we started an exercise in long-range planning. I think now we're going to be in a state where we will have to be talking to each other and working to discern our path forward. You can see from this annual report, it's thick. Perhaps many of you haven't had a chance to look at it yet. It is really impressive what's going on at the Cathedral. I'm in awe of what we are all doing. And I thank you so much for your commitment to this place. It's time to come together. So one thing I wanted to leave you with was a commitment to really work hard this year on hospitality, on getting to know each other. Part of that process will happen naturally as we discern our path ahead. But I'm really looking forward to more events like the community supper that we had this past month, which for those of you who were there, I think we counted 45 or so people. The atmosphere at that supper was magical. And we need more chances to be together in ways like that and to actually get to know each other deeply and have some fun. So amidst all the hard work that we're doing, represented in our report, we can have some fun too. And we can grow closer. And that's my hope. As George said, it's a great sign that so many people agreed to be nominated for positions of leadership in the Cathedral. We do have vacancies. We have the junior warden position. That's something that I think is the people who have served in the past, myself included, know that the position really has put a lot of weight on one person's shoulders. So I am going to lead an effort to reactivate the Building and Grounds Committee and to give the person who does have that position a lot of help and make the position itself less burdensome. I want to especially thank Fred Fowler, our acting junior warden, for his hard work in getting. Fred has done so much in the past 3 months or so to move things forward, as you can see, bring projects that were underway into completion. The new sign on State Street is a fantastic accomplishment that Fred had great help from Lynn Parsons. Thank you, Lynn, on helping with that. So, let's see. I think I'm out of words. Just thank you so much. This year has really tested us, and I have not felt like I've been alone in trying to lead us forward. It's been a challenging year, but one where I think we're on a great path forward.
I agree. But one of the reasons why we're on a path forward is for Sam. So can we give a round of applause to Sam, please? What a difference a year makes, right? You all were here. How many of you were here? Raise your hand if you were here last year for annual meeting. Okay. That was Ben's last time here as the dean after 18 years of ministry. And so we're in a new chapter of life together. And something interesting has happened that I want to talk about as just acknowledge, and that is that we've been in transition for now nearly a year, right? After a year of last year's Ben's departure. But then there's been, in that past year, there's been three distinct parts, at least parts that I can recognize. The first is that after Ben left, the congregation was joined in leadership by the Reverend Paul St. Germain. He was here for 4 months, and his role here was to be, initially, he was called to cover a sabbatical. And then as Ben's time here transitioned to instead being a sabbatical, he served here during those first few months after the departure. And that was not an easy piece of work that Paul did. And so Paul was here for 4 months until May. And then we entered into what I would like to call part 2 of the year of transition. Part year of the transition was led by an incredible group of mostly volunteer people. Especially want to thank the Reverend Suzanne Roberts, the Reverend Christopher Worthley, the Reverend Ann Fowler, the Reverend Rebecca Grant, Sam, all of you all who did this work kind of without kind of the direct leadership of a clergy person in charge, which is what Paul largely was functioning as, until I arrived here in September. 5 months I've been here. 5 months. You guys feel like an old shoe to me, right? And I don't mean that you smell bad. That's not it at all. This feels comfortable for me. And part of it is because my work as an interim is hard. One of the main things that I do is try to understand the community. And so if you've been wondering what's been happening and why aren't we searching for our next dean, the reason has to do with what I need to gather in the first 5 months in order for us to move forward, right? Which is largely an understanding of areas that need attention before we can move forward, and also relationships with many of you who have chosen to be leaders in this place. You see, when we come in as leaders, we have a certain amount of authority. You know this, right? Like, I'm the interim dean, and the bishop gave me a certain amount of authority to do. But the rest of authority, and that's one kind of authority, but the rest of the kind of authority we have is built out of relationship. And so you all understanding who I am and what challenges I have and what gifts I have is part and parcel to us understanding the next steps together. This is what I usually do in many of my congregations, just so you all know. I've been an interim for many years, and some of them are very, very long. I was saying to a group of people this morning that my longest interim was 4 years. I will not be here 4 years. Most interims take around 18 months or 2 years, and I expect that this will be in that category, if I was going to guess. How many of you, just by show of hands, have been in a church during a time of transition before, right? Great. So you recognize that this is a time for introspection. It's also a time for us to understand our community better, both internal and external. And it's also an opportunity for us to really do some hard work around our future identity and the mission that we have currently. Now, this is the hard part, is that much of the interim time allows us to kind of reflect on where we were, and that's really an important piece of the work. But if we're only backward looking, we'll wind up kind of not making forward progress. That was the point of my sermon this morning, right? Let's go on. That yes, we want to understand the things that have formed us and are important to us, and we also need to recognize who we are currently and who we hope to be in 5 years and 10 years together. Now, there's two things that are important for long-term health of a place. One of them is a clear way of understanding mission, and the second thing is putting leadership in place that can make that mission possible. During this next year, we're going to be working on understanding our mission and simultaneously looking and deciding and calling someone or some people, a team of people, whatever the identity, whatever we work out with, who will then help us staff that mission together. The challenge of an interim is kind of you're holding two things at once. You're both holding a congregation and you're helping to kind of move forward at the same time. It's the hard part, right? Because you still have to do church every week, right? Wouldn't it be nice if we just end church until we got a new leader here? Well, I like to preach, so you guys are stuck with me, right? I'm grateful. So now that we're in this next place, the question around kind of who our identity is going to start to take place. And I'd like to transition a little bit to talk about what the search will look like. And I want to make sure that, that I'm clear. In the fall, many of you participated in the Holy Cow Consulting Survey. And then we did this survey, and the results were in. And then along with the Reverend Pamela Mott, who the vestry has engaged as a certain search consultant, we decided that given that the results were kind of just before Christmas, right, that what we would do is hold those results and work with the new vestry that you're electing today to then help communicate the results of that survey. Now, don't get me wrong. The survey is just a singular tool. The survey allows the leadership to understand if there are areas that I haven't seen and that you haven't seen that need special attention for us to be able to do that work during the next year. Alongside of the results of the survey, in the next few months, your vestry is going to be putting together a number of committees. Some of them are really great, and all of them need your help. When I say some of them are really great, just know that I think the ministry of writing a profile is absolutely amazing. I think organizing small groups to have conversation is wonderful. I think reaching out to people who are estranged from the parish and finding out if there's a way in which their voice can be added to the conversation is essential. All of this work is going to be in your hands, and we're going to be asking you for help. Now, once we gather up this information, there's a whole different process. Wherein names come to the committee. And now one of the things that I've learned and that is different is I've served a number of interims, but I've never served as an interim dean of a cathedral. And you should understand the polity of the dean of the cathedral is that it is under the purview, this cathedral is under the purview of the Right Reverend Thomas Brown. And so this search is a little bit different than others, and that he also has a part in discerning the leadership that he's hoping for in the congregation. Thomas has not said exactly what that's going to look like yet, because he hasn't searched for a dean either, and is honest that all of us are going to need to do this work together. So I just want to be clear that in addition to our work, there's also external work that's happening with Thomas, and then there's also an opportunity for us to gather up information from the wider diocese about how they imagine a cathedral functioning. Because while we are a congregation, right, many of us see ourselves as a congregation, we are also the cathedral for the Diocese of Maine. And so all of these things are going to be happening simultaneously. Is that helpful for you all to understand that? The biggest question I get is, how long will this take? And the answer is, until we call a new dean. The search for Ben took just over 2 years. Do you all remember that? The search for my predecessor at another parish that I took 6 months. I imagine it'll be closer to 2 years here. Can I ask a question? How long have you been here, Linda? 12 years. 30 years. 9 years. Elizabeth, how long have you been here, Berger? 42 years? How long have you been here? Since you were born? Do you want to age yourself? Huh? 71 years. So anybody longer than 71 years? You don't look a day over. I don't even want to. Anyone a volunteer who's been here the shortest? Rich? 8 months. Caleb? Month? So between 1 month and 71 years. Raise your hand if you've been here 20 years. Dang. Who's been here longer than 20 years? Whoa. Who's been here longer than 30 years? Wow. We have all the knowledge in the room that we need. We have all the knowledge in the room that we need, don't we? There's also people who aren't here yet, right? If we're only thinking about the people who have been here for a long time, we're not going to be here in the future. Who is not in the room? And what do they need in a dean? I'm grateful for your longevity. I'm grateful for the wisdom that it brings. And I'm fully aware that if we don't get new people in this place, it doesn't matter how long we've been here. This place is rich in ministry. This place is rich in resources. This place is rich in leadership. This place is rich in so many ways. This place is rich in the enormous gifts that you bring into this place. And I'm hopeful. Now, it doesn't mean that we should not be acknowledging the truth. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. Tim did a great job, many of you were there, to talk about the finances of this place. We are both incredibly rich in resources, and also, you all should know that we passed a deficit budget this year. And we'll have probably some work that we need to do this year, in addition to finding our new dean, is to addressing the financial gap that we have between what we have and the cost that it takes to staff this place, to heat this place, to care for this place, right? And so if I was going to name 2 important processes in the next year, one of them is going to be addressing our long-term deficit, and the other is going to be finding leadership for the next place. The next person who's going to come here. I can't assure you that I won't be here next year, right? If you get to annual meeting and I'm still here next year, well, you might hear this speech again, right? But in the off chance that we're deep into the search next year, it's worth us kind of beginning to pray for somebody who doesn't even know that they're called to be our next leader, right? There's somebody out there who doesn't know that they're going to be the next leader. And so if I was going to give you a piece of homework, it's think about who's not in this room and who needs to be in this room, and to think about who is called and the skills that they have that might come into this place and share God's story in this particular place. Did I go long enough to get the ballots in? We can check. We've sung a hymn or two. On our agenda, we actually have time for questions and comments. Is that okay if we do that for a few minutes? I want to make sure that we've got some time and then we can check on your ballots. I would love it. It looks like we have a question here first from Ralph. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, let me.
Sam's working on the thing. We appreciate you using the microphone. This is so for folks at home, they can hear us, and also that we can hear each other.
Check 1, 2.
Okay, so just close to your lips. Thank you.
This relates to Sam's comments about getting to know each other. In my experiences here, one of the best ways to get to know one another was the foyers. And I wondered if some thought could be given to maybe reestablishing foyers as a way of getting to know each other. Because there's a lot of new people who have never participated in foyers.
Great. So the question was about foyers and about getting to know each other in smaller groups. Sam, do you want to say anything about that?
I'm one of the people who did not experience foyers, but I have heard a lot about it. And I've heard people have said the same thing. People have said the same thing as Ralph, that restarting foyers. And for those who don't know, my impression is that it was a kind of person stepped forward to organize monthly dinners of small groups of parishioners in their own homes. Is that a good? Yes. And the mix of people who would come to a dinner on any given month would change. Did not change.
If you were in foyers, raise your hand.
Yeah.
Thank you for volunteering to lead foyers.
Thank you.
Risky
Ralph.
to put your hand up, isn't it? It sounds like there's energy for this. If you have individual energy for it and you want to let me and Sam know, especially for those folks who can organize, that would be really, really helpful. Shayna. Follow-up question from Shayna. You want to give her the mic?
So as a follow-up question to that, would that be multi-generational? Because as like kind of the chairperson for the Young and the Restless, we sort of do this as a ministry right now amongst
with each other,
millennials and Gen Zers, but it would be nice to integrate with the rest of the Cathedral because a lot of our very, very new members have expressed interest in this, is finding easier ways to meet with all different members across the Cathedral.
Can I say that as a Generation Xer, the Generation Zers are involved, the foyers, right? Invited?
It was for men and women, married and single.
There you go. Great. And everywhere in between. Great. What other questions do we have? Elizabeth's got a question in the back, and then Jerry's got a question.
Not going to contradict you, Sam, but the intent of foyers was that all the names would be put in a hat. You'd pick out 4 people, or 4 couples, or 4 whatever combinations. Those people would decide where they're going to have a very simple dinner, usually soup and maybe bread and butter. That was the original intent, and it was an opportunity to get to know each other, but it was not a fancy dinner. It was names drawn from a hat, and then for the next 4 or 6 months, you would meet once a month at each individual house, have a simple meal and discussion. That's what a foyer was initially, and I think they had some problems later on with it getting too fancy. So I would vote for us trying a simple foyer in which names are thrown in a hat, and so you get who you get, and it will be multi-generational, and it will be very simple, and it's a good way to get to know people.
Great explanation. Thank you.
Jerry Edgar had a question, Sam?
Hi. I was going to say the exact same thing that Elizabeth Berger said. It was just so broadening and getting to know different genres, different careers. And some of those people are my best friends now because you've got this intimate thing. Somebody was working on their bathroom, or there were things that you found out about people that you would never talk about at coffee hour for sure. So I think it's a wonderful thing. And the woman who ran it took great pride in making sure that all those groups were equally balanced. Like there were young people in betweens, and it was just a marvelous thing. I thought, right, old members, just new people,
Thank you all so much. There's a question here.
Just another comment about foyers. Liz and I experienced this 12 years ago when we first came, and I agree with Jerry. Some of our best friends here, many of whom are no longer with us, but that's another story. I just wanted to bring up the fact that when I have talked excitedly about foyers, some of the younger people here, some not necessarily younger people, have said, I'd love to do that, but I live on the peninsula and I can't afford anything bigger than 400 square foot apartment. And those people should not shy away from foyers, but go to somebody that has a house and said, could I rent your house for my turn to serve the dinner, or something like that.
I think we can make this work. This sounds like an important initiative about us understanding each other and getting to know each other, and so I look forward to figuring out how this will work together. Are there any other questions? Great. Yep, looks like Shane has got one.
Check, check. You want this one?
This one works too.
Of course, I have to be the problem. Okay, so my other question is, aside from foyers, is there other things, just general question for the parish of what we can do as community events? Because I know also some new people recently talked about the Robert Burns Night and loved it. So would love to do more themed events like that too.
Fantastic.
We do have a February community supper planned, which I think is a chili competition.
Prepare to lose. I'm on it. This is good.
Yeah. but we are looking for more themed events like, that could be built around a community supper for March, April, May, and into the summer. And we do have an exciting event coming up with the Valentine's Day Cookie Walk.
That's it.
A week from today. So you can read about that in the bulletin.
These are all great questions. The next thing on our agenda, and of course, the other thing that I would encourage you to do is, as you find other questions and you read these reports, to reach out to the individuals who wrote their reports. If you don't know who they are, please let us know. Avery did a great job this year putting the reports together, and I want to extend a special thank you to everyone who submitted their reports in a timely manner. What an incredible gift. We had them all in by Wednesday, which says a lot about where we are right now and people's commitment to the ministries they served. I am so grateful that we had those out and published on Thursday. If you haven't had a chance to read these reports and find yourself with questions particularly, please reach out to the individuals who wrote the reports. And if you don't know who those are, please reach out to me or Sam or Fred, and we will put you in place, right? The next thing I'd like to do is report on the results of the ballots cast for this year's annual meeting. As you all know, for delegates to diocesan convention, we have 5 candidates, and there are 5 positions available for kind of positions, and 1 is an alternate. And so I'd like to congratulate all 5 of the folks who were elected: Sam Allen, Fred Fowler, Curtis Morand, Jerry Edgar, Susan McCullough, and Randy Hogan for their work as serving us on diocesan convention. Can we give them a round of applause? As far as vestry goes, we have, as I pointed out, we had 7 fantastic candidates. 4 of them are elected. The 4 who have been elected this morning's annual meeting are, in no particular order, Randy Hogan, Stan Kuziel, Eleanor Roberts, and Mary Linneman. Congratulations to you all. Grateful for your wisdom and your confidence in doing this work among us. We're now turned to the time in our meeting where we have the opportunity to thank outgoing members of our vestry. Turn it over to Sam to begin that work. Try this one.
Thanks, George. Each year at the annual meeting, I think most of you will know that our vestry positions, every year we elect a new class of people to join as members of the vestry. There are 9 people who are vestry members. In addition, we have 2 wardens. And the senior warden and junior warden terms are 2 years each. So on alternate years, we elect a senior warden and a junior warden. The vestry positions, we typically have 3, I like to call them classes of people. And so each year there are 3 people who will be rotating off the vestry. Occasionally someone might get reelected, but that's the case. So this year, retiring from the vestry are Jane Briggs. I know Jane was here earlier, and she is here now. Jane, if you would come up, along with Linda Carlton and Catherine Hyde. If you would come up, we have a little something for you. Let's see.
Here they are.
Good. Do you want to make the presentations?
I would like to make a presentation.
Jane, did you serve 2 terms on the vestry? She thinks so. Yes. So that would be 6 years of service on the vestry. Jane, we're very grateful.
Can you grab that one? We have a beautiful church. You guys turn around so people can see you. This is the thing. Turn around. You guys want to see? This is a people. This is good. We got one for Jamie. So this is a picture of our beautiful labyrinth with the church in the background. And yes, it even has blue sky in the background. We do have blue sky here in Maine occasionally.
We have a 4th person who has
That's what I said. Jamie Koff is
yes, who I neglected to thank.
Oh.
And Jamie is stepping back from his service on the vestry, but he's going to continue helping us envision ways in which we can bridge that financial gap between our costs and our income. And Jamie's also the person who is most knowledgeable about our heating system.
Yeah, Jamie, what's going on today?
It's cold outside.
Can I just say, for Jane, for Linda, for Catherine, Can we add Fred and Sam in this? And for Jamie, we are so grateful. The way that you've given your gifts to this place and the way that you've served is remarkable. So thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Jamie. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thanks, Catherine. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. The next thing on our agenda is really straightforward. Yes?
We've been asked, who are the new vestry members?
The new vestry members, would you like for them to stand?
It would be great if the new vestry...
The new vestry members, could they please stand as I read your name? Randy Hogan. Where's Randy? Randy Hogan, congratulations. For Stan Huziel, Stan, would you please stand? Eleanor Roberts, would you please stand? And Mary Linneman, would you please stand? Congratulations. Okay. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So, we've got 10 more minutes. Or I can entertain a motion. Is there a question here? Yes.
I would like to express a deep sense of gratitude. My name's Dan Schmaltz. My wife is Connie. We sing in the choir. And get back closer yet. I promise I'll eat it. Yes. One day after we moved to Portland, a year ago, November, we were in the choir already. I don't know how it happened, but it was wonderful. And I would like to urge you. We've heard great preaching these past weeks, and they've talked about how one person reached another and brought them to Jesus, brought them into the fellowship of God. And I'm looking forward to becoming officially a part of this fellowship. Yeah. I spent many, many years, I was a cradle Lutheran. I am a cradle Lutheran, always will be. But I'm finding a new life here, a new spiritual life, also a new social life, a new musical life, right here. This is a wonderful place. During the last 3 months, I've had occasion to visit some of the great churches of Europe and experience their hospitality. But all that time, I was looking forward to coming back to St. Luke's and being a part of it. I believe in June, the bishop is going to be here.
He sure is.
And people are going to be received into the fellowship. Meanwhile, I'm hoping that maybe Easter Eve we can have some baptisms.
That's right.
And I'm hoping that you and I will be a part of gathering people and bringing them like Nathaniel and Philip and Andrew and people all did during this Epiphany season. Thank you so much for your welcome. Episcopalians are great at hospitality, and let's show that we are also. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dan. Appreciate it. So, did you catch it? Did you catch it? He was preaching and he was inviting, right? Did you see that? We actually do have an event, June 30th. We are going to be visited for our annual visitation from the bishop, and we're going to confirm, receive, baptize, and reaffirm, right? In preparation for that, part of all of our work is going to be rejoining Episcopal 101, the teaching series, right? Following church for the months prior to that, even if you're not going to be confirmed or baptized or received or reaffirmed, I would invite you to reacquaint yourself with remarkable faith. One of the things that I'll say is that, did you know that the annual meeting is part of our faith? It has to do with the fact that we have a polity that allows for both congregational voting, which is what we've done today, which is hybridized with the leadership of the church. Episkopos means bishop. So this church was born out of a time when there was a lot of conversation about where the authority lies. And we good Episcopalians decided to split it up. And so the Episcopal Church has this really interesting thing where we come together once a year for our annual meeting. At that annual meeting, we elect vestry members who become our elected representatives, right? And the vestry is responsible for the money, and the clergy is responsible for the building and worship. And if you try to split the two, well, then the church falls apart. And so the church founder said, well, let's make them divide and conquer, right? And so I'm looking forward to learning more with you and walking beside you. And yes, Dan, even welcoming more of you into this place. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting, but you don't have to leave. Yes, Jane. Jane's moved. Is there a second? All in favor? Let's close with a prayer. All our many gifts, we're thankful, God, for the food that's fed us, for the fellowship that gives us a sense of your presence, for songs that lift our spirit, for your word that gives us hope in dark times, for the hands that lift us up like Jesus did in this morning's gospel. Now we call on you to empower us to go on. Let's go on, as Jesus said, and carry the news of this place into the world and fill these seats with those who do not know yet that they are members of this congregation. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.